Hello and welcome to our video about formulating fields within ad hoc reporting. Today I'm going to be using a report I built earlier in a video called An Introduction to Ad Hoc Reporting. So if you haven't watched that video yet and you're confused on how I got where I am now, I recommend going back and watching that video on the support portal. So the main idea for formulated fields is to either combine data or get an output that isn't currently available in our dashboard or ad hoc reporting data sources. So in today's example, I'm going to do something very basic to start off, and then we're going to release another video later on with more of the complex formulas. So for today's formula, I already have my report showing all of my employees and grouped in specific departments. So as of right now, I have my first name and my last name separated into two fields here, pulling directly from my data source. So what I'm going to want to do is I want to combine these into a single field in case I want to format them in a specific way, say in Excel, where I have an export that says last name, comma, first name, or first name space last name in a single field. Now, in order to do this within ad hoc reporting, you're going to want to open up your data source by going into the field list on the right-hand side. When you open up your field list, you're going to want to drop down your SQL data source and then select on your main view here or your data source that you've been using for the report. There's going to be a center button here that looks like a little function F or maybe a Facebook F. If you click on this, it's going to add in a calculated field. By default, it's going to be either named calculated field 1 or whatever number calculated field you're working on. In order to make this a little bit easier to understand, I'm going to click on the edit button here and rename this field, say employee full name. Now, when I rename this to employee full name, you're going to notice it drops down in the list. All that's doing is sorting my list of fields here in alphabetical order. I'm going to get rid of the space here just to make this nice and straight. Display name, I want to make it the exact same. Now, everything else you can leave somewhat the same. The one thing to point out here is going to be the field name, or the field type, sorry. The field type is going to represent what type of field I'm pulling in. If you select none, it's going to default to whatever that data field is. I highly recommend you keep it as none for very basic uses. I'm going to attach something at the end of this video or a link beneath the video that explains exactly what all these data sets mean for more complex formulas. So since I'm going to skip over this, I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom here where I have my expression. Now, in order to edit my expression, you'll notice that this field is blank, but I get the three dots over here to the right. So if I open that up, I'm going to get a field, a window pop up that looks very similar to what I saw in my query builder in the first video. This is going to allow me to create my formula using some preset fields, constants, and functions that are presented to me here. So since I want to do something very basic, all I want to do is combine two fields. I'm just going to scroll through my fields list here and grab my first name and my last name. You'll see that if I just double click the field, it drops it in here and you'll see it listed as first name, and we'll do the same for our last name. Now, if I were to save it as is right now, all it would do is combine the fields together. There'd be no spacing, there'd be no formulated fields to this. It'd really just be one field with first name and last name. Now, in order to put these two fields together, I'm going to use a function that is a plus sign. If I click into my functions here or click into my operators, you'll see all the list of what these different functions are. And if you click on them, it gives you a very brief little string of text to explain what that function does. So if I click into more of my functions here, you'll see that these get a little bit longer, provide a little bit more information as you go along. So for this here, I really just want to add my first name. I'm going to do a plus to add something else, and then I'm going to add in a space so that way it looks a little nicer here. In order to do that, I have to use my single quotes to display a space and then another plus sign to combine my last name. Now you're going to notice that as I type these queries in here, if I have a query that doesn't make sense, say if it's just first name space and then last name, you're going to get this red X. The red X, you'll see the little lines and hyphens that lead to an up arrow. That's going to show you exactly where your error is. So in this scenario, my error is right where the last name starts. And then as soon as I add my plus sign in, that little X will go away and I don't have any more errors in my expression. I'm happy with this expression. I'm happy with the first name space last name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now, as this field goes, it's just in my data source. I don't actually have it in my report yet. So I'm going to drop this over right after my first name, last name, so you guys can see what this looks like when it displays. And then I'm just going to grab another header here, and I'm going to name this full name. And then since I have a good data source and my data set's already set up, I'm going to go ahead and click on Save so I don't lose any data, and then preview my report. You'll see that when I preview my report, I have my normal grouping by department, but now I have my list of full names here with the first name, space, last name. And that's going to be a very basic overview of formulated fields. Again, I'm going to be coming out with another video very soon here explaining some more complex formulated fields using other statements that we have available. We plan to release more videos as we go along here, and the videos will be releasing on our support portal, so keep an eye out for them there. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.